welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone that can hear the sound of my voice to this week's edition of the Petty and Ill-Informed podcast, where we discuss current events and things that we enjoy. Joining me as always, Kevin
Hello, everyone.
and Nikki.
Hey.
So, what's up, guys?
Well, first of all, I think that soundtrack overdoes your microphone. I was worried
Oh
that
my gosh.
whenever it came on, like you were really quiet again. But
Yeah,
anyway,
and my
that's
ears were
a
bleeding.
Tom creation, and Tom's not here. But what's the name of the track? Just so we know.
Magnetic Pulse.
Magnetic Pulse.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, a magnetic pulse or an EMP would be kind of devastating. What do you think?
Do a lot of damage to us. I mean, we are kind of reliant on electricity.
Well, what I find is that's really kind of scary about that is I think it's remember Dark Angel? You guys remember Dark Angel?
Yep.
Yeah.
How come you can't see Dark Angel anywhere? You cannot find it.
I think it might have a licensing issue. A Dark Angel, and there's another one that I was trying to watch recently that Tales from the Crypt. They're like, yeah, no. You're never going to find these anywhere.
Do you think that was because it was like James Cameron type thing?
I have no idea. I have no clue.
Yeah.
It could just be a licensing mix-up. That was a great show, though. Michael Weatherly, before he was DiNozzo on NCIS. Jessica Alba, when she actually mattered to anybody.
Oh my God.
Jensen Ackles, when he was a baby.
Yeah.
It's a good cast.
I mean, Jessica Alba is.
Yeah. But her men that she was surrounded with, too, were beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a good show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I miss that. But anyway, the idea of that was, of course, that Seattle had gone through an electromagnetic pulse, and so really nothing worked, from that standpoint, except Jessica Alba's motorcycle. And let me just say, Jessica Alba in leathers. I mean, geez, Louise.
Hello.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Richard apparently has no opinion on EMPs.
I said that we're very reliant on electricity, so it would do a lot of damage.
Yeah. Well, we wouldn't have this podcast for sure.
Mm-hmm.
We'd all have to
My
go
job would be
outside
different.
again.
Yeah,
We'd have to cut out cataracts. Back in the old day.
Oh yeah, dude, I need to have.
Because you don't do that now. We suction it out like a slushy. But I've been in one case where we had to cut out the cataract, and it's really cool feeling.
So how do you do it?
Like how do you do it with?
Well, how do you currently remove cataracts?
There's a 1.1 milliliter incision that we make just to poke. It's just enough to get in an itty bitty cannula with some lidocaine, and then they take a 2.4 milliliter to cut it open a little bit more to get the phaco machine in. And then they just put in a little tip of a thing and suction it out. They break it up into little pieces and suction it out.
Really?
Yeah, there's no suture involved. There's no stitches. It's literally, if you have, depending on your surgeon, it might even be just a 5-minute procedure, and you're in and out, and nothing hurts afterwards. It's perfect.
Wow.
But back in the day, and what I've seen, if we have a really bad one, is they have to make a bigger incision, pull out the cataract hole, and then sew it back up. And that's how they used to do cataract surgery, but they still have to sometimes today.
Yeah.
So that's what we would have to do if we didn't have power, just a flashlight and some instruments.
Well, they probably just let you go
How would you sterilize stuff?
blind in the old days.
Yeah.
I mean,
You'd have to boil it, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
Well,
I guess, but with some chemicals.
the autoclave would have to come back.
Well, autoclaves are still here, but they're ran off of electricity.
Yeah, but I mean, I've seen old autoclaves that are made out of copper, and you put them over a fire, and it basically uses that.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, like a spirit fire, or what do you call those? A spirit fire. I always want to say like the things you use in spirit kettles, but it's like no, it's like wood alcohol, but methylated spirits. That's what you call it there. That's not what you call it in America, but that's what you call it in Britain, for whatever reason. It's not the same thing. It's the same thing, but not the same thing. It's called something completely different. You can Google it. I have that problem quite a lot, where I say
How do you
things.
make bleach? Where does bleach come from?
Bleach?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, it has to be
Bleach
some
trees.
chemical, right?
Yeah.
What chemical?
I don't know. Look it up.
Apparently, male
Sodium.
semen tastes like bleach.
I'll have to defer to your superior knowledge, Kevin.
No, I'm just saying. So you probably have quite a lot of bleach making
What
capacity
is
at
that
your house,
person?
Richard.
What
That's
is
all I
that
was.
person like eating though? If it tastes like bleach,
Yeah.
I don't.
I've never been with a guy who tasted like bleach.
Oh, that's good. That's that. I mean, the very fact that you know that, Nikki, means that you've gone up in a lot of men's estimations just there.
Just saying.
Because you're not in the just let me know category. let me know before something happens. I've just taken this in a really bad way.
I would prefer if someone let me know.
Oh.
Give me a warning so I don't like gag when it hits me in the back of the throat. Because if that stuff comes onto you quickly, it like that can make me want to punch somebody.
Oh, really? The shock of it.
The shock of it. I don't. Bleh, no. I need to know. Give me just be nice. Give me a little warning.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to spit it out. I just need to know it's coming.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Why do you two always drag this conversation down to the lowest common denominator?
Because Nikki and I don't really know each other. That's because we've never met. I don't really know what she looks like. She doesn't really know what I look like. I mean, my whole estimation of what Nikki is like comes from the fact that she talks to my wife occasionally, and my wife likes her a lot. And, and I'm on a podcast with her, but I don't know anything about her. So I'm just kind of like, and you know what? I think that a lot of men really secretly kind of want to have that conversation with a lady that they can say, okay, this lady's my friend, and I can kind of ask her anything. I know she'll give me the truth.
That's true.
Which is kind of an interesting and kind of a rare thing. It's she's giving me her honest opinion, and it means nothing to me whether her opinion is favorable to mine or not. And so that's what I find interesting. And I understand it's one person's opinion, and Nikki is not the standard of all women, and all women don't feel the same way Nikki
Not
does.
at all. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's interesting to have that opinion. And I think that's what you like about Nikki too, Richard, is the fact that you can have an honest opinion with her. You can have an honest relationship with her. And I think that in a lot of ways, that's something that maybe some people never have in their lives.
It's very true.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I just don't see why you shouldn't discuss that stuff. It's very important.
Right.
It's so important for us to just shy away from it all the time. It's crucial to relationships, really.
Well, right. I mean, I think that a lot of times where you find out that like a lot of times I mean, this is the thing where you get into this situation where, like Johnny Depp and his wife or whatever, you figure, oh, this is the type of people they are, and then you find out what goes on behind the scenes. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
There's that whole behind the scenes thing.
Right.
Like whenever somebody puts on some sort of a facade, and then the facade fails. Everybody loves that. You know what I mean? That's that purient interest in other people's sex lives.
Yeah.
that has to do with the fact that they say they're one thing and then do another thing. Like there's nothing better to most people than whenever like a Christian, like a minister of a large fundamentalist group turns out to be gay. You know what I mean?
Well, I
Or,
think there's
or hires a
also
prostitute or something.
a desire to see successful people fail,
Oh yeah,
especially if we're not successful ourselves. So it's like, ha ha,
right,
your life was so great, you had everything handed to you. It's good to know that at least part of it's shit.
right.
I
Yeah,
know that sounds awful. It really does, but I think that
you-
I think
you-
that we
yeah.
just get interested and caught up in other human nature as well. At least that's my thing. Like, people fascinate me.
Yeah.
Especially the dirty, ugly parts of people.
Well, and it's funny to me because again, it's like it's part of this like hero worship that we all develop, right? So we have
Right.
this hero worship of people, and whenever it turns out to not be, I mean, we're happy to worship them when everything goes our way, but
Right.
whenever they're starting to crash and burn, we'll stand around and watch the car burn. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
We may not, and certain people will, but most people will just stand there and watch the thing burn. They're not going to get burned. It's kind of a funny thing where this week's Messiah is, Elon Musk.
Right.
Elon Musk is going to save us.
He is the savior.
Exactly.
There are so many people that truly believe that he's the Antichrist.
Well, I think that's in a lot of ways, he's a very diverse person. It's an interesting topic. Whereas he is, a lot of liberal people are very afraid that he bought Twitter. You know what I mean? And he's going to change that.
Right.
Well, if you want to hurt Elon Musk, don't not use Twitter. That's not going to hurt him. What does he care?
Yeah.
Stop buying freaking Teslas.
Teslas, which are just as bad for the environment because
Right.
of the freaking battery.
Worse
Yeah.
for the environment.
Because of the battery. So it's
Well,
like,
not just
Right.
that. Not just where the battery comes from, but most of our electricity still comes from fossil fuels.
yeah.
So you're powering the car with fossil fuel electricity, and the battery is really bad for the environment. So electric
Right.
cars are worse for the environment than anything else.
Right. I mean, and that's the thing. And now you can get a Tesla battery for your house too. That'll basically do that. But the thing about that is, it's like, okay, these people break their arm, patting themselves on the back for one thing. That's not, but that's like a Tesla is and always has been, in my opinion, a status symbol of a certain thing. It's
Yeah.
like the liberal freaking badge. It's like the what do you call that? The
Not
liberal Victoria Cross.
necessarily. Not necessarily, because like my surgeons, a majority of them are fairly conservative, and I've got at least 2 that drive Teslas. One of which got a new Tesla because he said that his old Tesla had gotten mileage up on it. He was like, yeah, it had 25,000 miles on it. It was trying to get a new one. 25,000 miles. I put that on my car in less than a year.
Right. But what I'm saying is that, like I said, it's still a little bit of a status symbol because of the expense of it.
Absolutely. It's a really cool car. I don't know if you've ever been in one, but one of the surgeons, we talked him into letting us take a ride with him. It's a really freaking awesome car. I never thought I'd want one, and then I saw it.
Yeah. Was it a 4-seater or was it a 2-seater?
It was a 4.
Oh, okay. Because the 2-seater ones, when the ones that first came out, I thought they were Lotus Eglisses. They had the same body style of a Lotus, a certain car, a $60,000 kind of.
Yeah, I know what a Lotus is.
Yeah, and kind of a little cheap, a supercar on a budget. You could get a Lotus for less than $100,000, but still, that's what it looked like to me. But so I never thought it was much. I didn't really kind of get it.
Yeah,
But,
you get into them now, and their 4-seaters are so cool. They're just, especially if you like tech, it's so freaking awesome. Like, Like he literally parks. He'll park on the other side of the parking lot and just call it, and it will just drive over to him.
Are you serious?
100%.
Wow.
Yeah, like it literally will back itself out, pull around to the side, and he hops in. It
That's pretty
parks
cool.
itself. He can put in his coordinates, and especially if it's like on an interstate or something, it'll just drive for him.
Right.
It's really cool. It's super cool.
Right. Well, I guess in that way, I mean, but I guess that's.
I mean, all cars are going to be like that very soon. I
Right.
rented a crappy Kicks. I didn't even know that was the type of car. And is someone brushing their teeth? Richard?
No.
I don't know. It's
Sounded
not
like
me.
it.
It's not me.
Okay.
I'm just sitting here. It did sound like somebody was scrubbing their toilet out, to be honest.
Oh, I heard someone brushing their teeth.
Oh.
I don't even remember what I was saying.
No,
Oh,
but
all
you're
cars.
saying that you.
Oh,
Kicks
yeah,
was a kind of car that you.
Yeah,
rented.
and it's still. I mean, it's a cheap vehicle. Like the cheapest thing that you can rent, pretty much. And it still had the little rumbles and stuff. So if there's a car next to you, it's going to tell you and stuff like that. That was pretty cool.
Right.
So all the cool parts of Tesla are coming to regular cars anyway. So I'm not really worried about a Tesla.
Right.
I
But
know
I mean,
if they get speeding tickets, they tend to frame them.
They frame them.
Put them up in their house in a frame.
If you have a Tesla and you get a speeding ticket,
Yeah,
why?
it's a joke. It means they don't go very fast.
Oh, okay. I was making
I
sure
Just-
that was the
my
joke. That's what I
genius
thought.
is just wasted on
I was
YouTube.
making sure. I was just making sure that was the joke. I had a feeling.
I rode an electric Harley one time. It was all electric, and that thing was faster than fast, dude. That's all I could say. Is it was fast, but you see the thing about it was, and I'll tell you that it was so quiet. And whenever you're a motorcycle rider and you have a quiet bike, you get worried about the fact that your bike is quiet. You know what I mean? Because people are not looking for you anyway. So
Right.
basically, a lot of people who ride motorcycles have that annoying pipe, loud,
Just
you
to
know,
let people know.
aggravates everybody in the neighborhood whenever you get up in the morning. The reason my bike is that loud is because people do not look. And if they don't hear you, you're going to be splat. And that's it. You want quieter motorcycles? Start looking around you for things and not hit motorbikes. I mean, that's my take back on that when everybody complains about motorcycle riders being loud and obnoxious. Well, some of that is because they are loud and obnoxious, and some of that is because they actually are trying to be heard so that you know where they are. But I would
It's
imagine
interesting to know. I never thought about that because I don't know. I'm really cautious. I always look for motorcycles.
Oh, motorcycles are very hard to see. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean,
And
they're-
if one gets in front of me, I'm hanging back. Like I'm not. There's no
Yeah.
way I'm not riding your butt. It's not
Yeah.
happening.
I don't
Yeah.
trust cyclists of any kind.
Me neither.
Motorcyclists or bike ride.
yeah, and if you
I
get
just
on a
expect them to fall in front of my vehicle and me to run
Yeah.
over them on accident, like at any given time.
I mean, Richard, exactly. Richard, where you live on, and like if there's B roads around there, and somebody gets a motorbike on a road that's on a B road, dude, they're all over the place. You know what I mean? They go so fast. I mean, that was one of the things I was talking to Sam about it the other day about Northern Ireland, and she said, "Well, how come people don't get pulled over in Northern?" I said, "Nobody's been pulled over for speeding in Northern Ireland in 50 years. You know what I mean? It's like a free for all, because cops wouldn't pull you over back in the day because they would be afraid it was a setup. You know what I mean? So they're not going to pull you over because people used to speed. Cops would get out of the car, they'd shoot the cop and drive off. You know what I mean? So it's like I've seen people go incredible amounts of speed on just roads that they shouldn't, and certain roads with that you get on it with a motorcycle. They go incredibly fast. And I don't know, is that not true where you're at, Rich? I mean, it seems like whenever I watch these programs about, like Manchester 911 or something like that, it's always somebody chasing some motorcycle. It's going like 150 miles an hour down the M1 or something. It just seems, but on the back roads, I imagine it's even worse. That they're all trying to be like super bike riders down the back end.
We don't actually have a lot of motorcycles around here.
Really?
Yeah, it's mostly normal cyclists,
Huh.
tourists.
Tourists?
And let me tell you, these people are the most inconsiderate assholes that ever lived. And they're all the same person. They're there in their little lycra shorts with their little helmet on, leaning over the front of the bike, pedaling as fast as they can in the middle of the road. And if you have the front to try and drive around them or be coming down the opposite way, they'll always shout at you and give you the finger for daring to interrupt their precious bike ride.
Oh, so these are people that just come up from the Lake District and
That
just
sounds like you just need to be in your car, find a good mud puddle close to them, and then just splash the crap out of them as you drive
Oh,
by.
no, because they don't go when there's mud puddles. They would do it in the summer when it's like bone dry everywhere.
yeah,
No.
the roadside
you can-
baptism. That's what we used to call it.
I mean, you can occasionally knock one of them off with your door and say, "Oh, it's a dodgy door lock," but you can't do that every time. Well, police.
That's actually one of my most violent dreams. Is whenever I see a bicyclist on the side of the road, I just want to open my door as I go by,
Yeah.
just knock them off, and then keep driving.
Well, it is funny, as a person. I mean, as a person who drives on the, in a left-hand drive car in America, and then whenever you have to go to Britain and drive a right-hand drive car, it is very difficult to maneuver on some of the roads over there, because people, I mean, people don't realize that how people park. People park halfway into a lane. You know what I mean? And it's very hard to maneuver sometimes and get the space of everything. So it is easy to touch somebody with your mirror, as you're going past, because it just seems like there's not enough space. And yes, that's what I would do. I would get one of those big ass mirrors that they put on, like camping people who have RVs in them.
Oh yeah.
That just hang 2-3 feet out, and just what you need is a Dodge,
just thwap them.
A Dodge Ram pickup with an F-350 with those big ass mirrors that just take everybody down, Richard.
Don't tell him that, because he's just gonna get one really large
just on the
mirror,
one side,
just on the one side, and just knock them out as he goes by.
Love to.
Just
I've
whap right into the mirror.
Oh, lawnmower blades sticking out from the side of your car.
You can't do that. Come on,
Why
you can't
not?
go road warrior. You just have to go down to Halford's after the show. Well, no, tomorrow. Go down to Halford's and say, "I want a big RV mirror," and then stick it on your car. On the
With the lawnmower blades on the mirror.
Imagine how much trouble you'd be in for that.
Yeah,
It depends how quickly you got rid of the lawnmower blade.
Because if it was the mirror, you could be like, "Oh man, I'm so sorry."
Yeah.
But with the lawnmower blades, you're intentionally hurting them at this point. You need to have some kind of plausible deniability.
Repellent for insects.
Repellent.
Wow. Yeah, no.
We live on a marshland. There's midges here as big as sparrows.
Oh, the midges.
Defense is necessary.
Oh.
Just be like, yeah, it's insect defense.
What is a midge?
And
it's sort of
not
like
a mosquito. A smaller mosquito.
Yeah.
A gnat.
Yeah. But it bites.
Yikes.
And
they are so much worse than mosquitoes. Because at least mosquitoes just bite you when it's over. Midges will continue to bite you.
Terrible. There's nothing worse. My granny used to live right across the border from where you live, Richard. and grew up there, and she hated midges. I mean,
Yep.
like, you know, she would rather go to Alaska where there was like, mosquitoes the size of birds than be around midges. She hated them. It was bizarrely weird. But whatever happened. And do you have clags where you're at? Sort of a biting
Yeah.
fly called clags.
Horse flies as well.
Yeah, terrible.
Horse flies are the worst, but at least you can feel them. You can feel the intense pain, and you look down and you see them on you. And they don't even fly away; they just stare up at you like, "What?"
What are you looking at, bitch?
Yeah, exactly. At least mosquitoes and gnats will fly away, but horseflies will be like, "You want some?"
Yeah.
But anyway, all of this to suggest that you do need lawnmower blades on your mirrors. And if a few cyclists happen to be decapitated, well, that's the price they pay for me being safe from insects.
That's right.
Yeah. We're gonna start having to call Richard the Cumbrian sling blade.
Do you know who Ivan Milat is?
No.
He was an Australian dude that lived out in the bush and used to kill tourists. It's the
Oh
bloke
yeah,
that
no,
movie-
no. They made a movie out of him. Yeah.
Wolf Creek, yeah, that's the guy that is bloke. And I was like, he used to kill exclusively tourists, and I'm like, I empathise with you so much over like any other serial killer. He's the one I'm like, yeah, I totally get it, mate.
As someone who used to live in Florida, I agree. And Florida is like, I don't know. It's not just. It's tourists everywhere all year round.
Do you not think that Florida should just sort of break off and become its own country at this point?
What would you call it? Like
Florida, though. I mean, you just call it Florida.
Call it Florida.
Just call it Florida.
Yeah,
call it Xanth. That place is crazy anyway, and it's shaped like Xanth. So
yeah. Well, all I know is
I do miss Florida though. They've got I don't know. The people there are great, but insane. They're wonderful, but absolutely crazy.
It's interesting, but I mean, at this point in time, Florida, like literally, every 3 days something changes in Florida.
Yeah,
I don't know, and I don't know what's going to happen with Disney. Are they going to move out? And I mean, this is the big Disney thing, the big Disney showdown.
Yeah.
I don't know. Don't know that much about it, but I know that it's interesting. My dad moved to a place that's not far away
Can you guys hear the yelling in the background?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Go ahead. Continue. Sorry, Kevin.
No, I was just wondering, because my dad moved to a place that was not far from there in the same county, I think, or the next neighboring county or whatever.
Polk County.
Yeah, well, I had to ask, are you in the special tax district or not? And then what happens with it? I don't know. It's an interesting thing, but everybody's mad about it. Everything's bad about that. It seems
if Florida breaks off to become its own country, then Texas should as well.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. At a certain
California.
point, yeah. Well, California, if it was run right, in my opinion, would be really sort of up in the top 5 countries in the world, if you think about it. Isn't like California as a producer of items and goods and things like that. It's a huge producer. It's like if it was run separate, the way that it's run now, it's like if it separated, it would be like the number 10 country in GDP in the world. So if you were to run it correctly, I can't imagine that would go up.
That's an interesting topic, because technically, according to the Constitution, all of the states have the right to secede. But the last time a state tried to, there was a civil war.
Right. Well, I mean, but this is the thing. I mean, from that standpoint, we do live in sort of separate. I mean, you can make the argument that, like, culturally, America is very sort of regionally driven. and then economically it's totally different too. Well, all I'm saying is that culturally, a lot of places in the South identify with each other, but economically, not so. They're not so great. You know what I mean? I mean, like you take sort of Florida and Texas out of the equation in southern states, and if that became its own country, you know, it would be kind of shit, to be honest with you. I mean, economically speaking. And
Yes.
the thing that is always interesting about that is, would then Florida and Texas want to be the things that held the nation together? You know what I'm saying? Once you start to get into the situation of I'm the economic giant in this situation. Why do you want to be dragged down by other places anymore? You know
It's
what I'm
true.
saying?
I mean,
So
Florida can make it on its own because of Disney
yeah, exactly. But
alone. I mean, and that's not to count Universal Studios or all of those places that are right there, Busch Gardens. I mean, they would have
yeah,
enough in tourism alone just in Central Florida.
right.
We're not talking about Talladega or wherever the heck. Talladega's in Alabama. There's darn
Daytona
it.
Beach and those
Thank you,
places. Yeah,
Daytona, Clearwater,
yeah,
Pensacola. Like
right.
there's just places all over. There's Florida's really, even though people are crazy, they're super nice and there's always stuff to do. Like if you're bored, it's your fault.
Oh yeah, there's tons of stuff to do. I mean, you can go miniature golfing in the middle of the night. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? And and it's like, I miss miniature golfing. You know what I mean? There's no miniature golf places in like the Pacific Northwest. You have to like make it to like, oh no, I think that there is in like Idaho and like Utah. There's miniature
Y'all don't
golf
have
places.
putt putt there?
No, we do
What?
not have.
Are you
In,
guys just too good in the West for putt putt?
I think that it's like the elitism of the Pacific Northwest, where for some reason we're allowed to have coffee that we say is the best coffee in the world, but not pot putt golf.
Right, right, right.
I don't get it. There was putt putt golf whenever I grew up here.
Yeah.
Like whenever well, I didn't grow up here, but anyway, whenever we moved here for me to go to high school here, there was putt putt golf, and then that went out of business, and then there's just nothing like that.
So what do you do with your kids? Take them to the park, maybe a Chuck E. Cheese,
Well,
Dave
that's the
and
thing. I
Buster's.
mean,
Like,
like all those places are gone. The roller skating rinks are gone. You
we have
know,
those here still.
you know. It's
Yeah.
like I said, we're too good for it. But I mean, I can't imagine. Well, it gets to the point where if you own a putt putt golf and it takes up like 2-3 acres, like if you're not selling that off to somebody for like $1 million or something, $2 million, you're stupid. You know what I mean? It's just
Right.
the price of land is just too expensive
Oh,
right
trust
now.
me, I know.
I mean,
I'm
that's
waiting for the housing market to crash. It's going to crash. It's going to crash so hard.
right,
It's going to be ugly.
right. But
Because
whenever somebody, yeah, exactly,
I have a doctor right now who put in over $100,000 over asking price and still got bought, like, still got taken out by someone willing to pay cash.
right. Well, yeah, it's insane. I mean, it is insane. Whenever, and it seems to be certain like entry level houses that seem to be really the ones that are like super expensive. I don't even know how my kids are going to ever put down money for a house. You know what I mean? But yeah, crazy, crazy.
Yeah, well, it's not only entry. I mean, the house that he was going for was like 900 mil or 900,000.
Oh yeah, no, I know, and that's a lot of house in Ohio
Yeah.
or
Oh, in
Tennessee,
Ohio, absolutely.
or where you're at, with
Tennessee, not
Tennessee.
really, not necessarily.
Not so much anymore.
No, no, no. Depending on where you're going, I mean, depending on where you're going in Memphis, it can be high up there. Well, in the
Wow.
Memphis region, sorry. Yeah,
Oh,
it's nothing to get a house like that on the river. I mean, Justin Timberlake lives out here. You
really?
can, yeah, oh yeah,
Don't be so quick to walk away.
Yep.
Justin Timberlake.
Yeah,
That'd
this
be
is one
funny.
of
That
those
was
places. Like one of our CRNAs met him because they were both going to see the same movie together in like an itty bitty little town and near Memphis.
yeah,
And it's just like literally it's the only movie theater for like over an hour, the one that he went to in this itty bitty town. But yeah, he's free to walk around Millington and places like that. No one bugs him because he's just someone that lives here.
right. No, I mean, there's and that, like I said, that's amazingly popular to people who are like world famous. Is just being left alone.
Yeah, and I mean when you've been raised in an area and everybody is family and or just have known you growing up, like people leave you alone.
Yeah, and they won't rat on you and tell people where you live either.
Right,
You know
right.
that's the big thing. Like when we were growing up and we had the Formula One guy that ended up being from our village, and people would come around and were like, where does Eddie live? We're like, we don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, just oh, he's in America right now. I mean, he could be. You could have seen him this morning, but you're like, we don't know.
Yep.
Just get out.
Yeah, we
Richard, do you
had
have any rich people where you live in Cumbria, in Carlisle?
Probably not in Carlisle, but probably down in the Lake District.
Oh
I
yeah,
think there'll be some famous people down there. I don't know. I've never looked into it.
don't care.
I
Yeah.
don't care to look into it either. I just that stuff kind of
No,
slaps
it's
you
an
in the
interesting
face when
story. I mean, yeah,
someone's around, because
yeah.
like when I worked at a security place, Steven Seagal was one of the customers, and the other one was what's her name that was with Bruce Willis and Moonlighters,
Oh,
Moonlighting.
Sybil Shepherd.
Is it? I think yeah, she's another one that we had
Yeah.
their house too. It's just I don't know why. I don't understand why anybody would want to live in Memphis or near Memphis, but whatever. If I had a bunch of money, this would not be the place that I would get a house.
Well, I think Sybil Shepherd might be from that area.
She is. She's from here. Yeah.
Yeah. So therefore, yeah, I get that.
I don't think that I know Steven Seagal moved, but
Yeah.
yeah, I even know Steven Seagal's other name that he purchases all of his stuff in. So yeah.
Right. You got to be careful with that. That's information.
Yeah.
It's got to.
Yeah,
zip
I'm
that
not
up.
gonna say. Yeah, I'm not gonna say that. But I'm just saying. I
With
don't
our
get it.
far expanding reach of people.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
well, it's kind of like we had the Prince Prince Henry. No, it was Prince Henry came with his wife or something one time, and I was like, the royal family's in Memphis, and they're like, yeah, they're going to Graceland. I was like, did they blindfold them on the way there? Because Graceland's in the ghetto.
Yeah.
It is a terrifying place. You don't want to get lost around Graceland. You don't want to get lost in that area.
Yeah, but I mean, I could tell you those people would be well looked after as far as the security. So
That's true, but I'm just saying, like, I wouldn't be all proud of showing anybody my city.
oh well, come on. I mean, that's like, but like
What am I gonna do? Take you into Beale Street and you can maybe get shot or stabbed after going through a metal detector?
yeah, but what I'm saying is there's parts of Britain that are not great. There's
Right,
parts
but
of,
are there
there's,
parts of Britain where you stop at a red light and someone shoots you? Doesn't even carjack you or steal your crap. They just shoot you at a red light and then walk away.
yeah, no, not really.
Yeah,
I would
see,
say that there's, I mean, that I
two
don't know.
totally different things. I would like to say that probably y'all's ghetto is way different than ours. Like I remember waiting in line for chicken at a fast food place and hearing like gunshots and just being like, "Do I want chicken this bad? Is this chicken willing to die for?" Yep. And I just stayed in line, just waiting, like just
Right.
looking around.
Some people are willing to risk their lives for their country or their leaders, but Nikki will put herself on the line for a decent piece of chicken.
For a decent piece of chicken.
Well, sometimes that's. I mean, at a certain point in time, you get hard. I mean, and I don't mean it like that, but you get hardened to this shit. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
But,
there's a joke. There's a joke every 4th of July. It's called fireworks or gunshots.
yeah, and
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 that's a
and
game you play.
you do get into a thing. It's like, okay, well, it's like rolling the. You almost get into
Da-da-da.
a sense of Russian roulette. You're going to a
Yeah.
certain point in time. Will I come home? Will I not come home?
Yep.
It was like that going to Belfast in the 70s and 80s. You know
My
what I mean?
my dad and I were running around Memphis the other day, and I was in the car looking at my phone, and he came back into the vehicle, and I just real steady kind of looked up real slow to see if it was him, because if not, I was ready to just look at him and be like, I guess this is your car now, and then hop out. Like, I really thought that some person, because he left the vehicle on, I really thought some person had decided they were just going to get in the vehicle, and I was going to be like, yeah, you can have it.
Yeah. Still point in fighting it.
I wasn't. I didn't like whip my head that way to see who it was. I was just like, well, if it's not my dad, I guess my dad doesn't have a vehicle.
Right.
And I looked
Yeah.
over. I was like, oh, it's my dad. We're cool. Because if not, I would have been like, hey, what's up? Let me get my phone. You can have everything else.
Right. Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah. It is.
What would
It
you
is.
do if they wanted your phone?
I would probably be really sad. I'd be like,
Would you
why
give
though?
them a look?
Yeah, definitely. I'd be like, you're getting my purse.
But I'll
So
die for my phone.
basically, yeah. Even though I ignore my phone 98% of the time, there's still like, I don't know, it's like a pacifier almost. I know that I have it if I need it. I think that that also comes from just being from a generation where I remember I was married and there weren't a lot of cell phones, and my cell phone had died, and luckily I found a payphone to find directions my way home because there wasn't a GPS or anything. So I don't know. I just like having my phone near me.
Hmm. Well, I think that's one of those things where people can't understand. It's like that's. I mean, it's like
Especially younger people, because they've got their GPS on their phone, and they probably got a charger for their car, which I do now, but back then that's not something you really thought about. If your phone went dead, it went dead.
right, and you
You
have
know?
backup ways of communication. I mean,
Exactly. You
it's
could
kind of
stop like I did, find a
yeah.
couple of quarters and use a
Well,
payphone. Now you can't find a payphone.
well, no, you can't find a payphone, and everything. What's amazing to me is like we're still sitting at a computer, all three of us probably. But if my kid was doing this show, he'd be on his phone doing it. You know what I mean? He'd be on his phone.
Right.
He'd have that would be all on his phone.
I've
He
done it on the
doesn't.
phone.
Well, yeah, I know. Chubbs used to do it on the phone all the time. But what I
Yeah.
but at the same time, what I'm saying about that is when the phone goes dead, then that really accentuates the fact that it's like one time. All my kids are still on my plan. You know what I mean? I'm 50
Right.
years old and I'm still paying for my kids' cell phones. But anyway, you know, um, and I forgot to pay it whenever I had a heart attack. And it got turned off, and it was like it spun them up. They had to be without their phone for a day. You know what I mean? And it's like they
Right.
didn't know how to get a hold of me. They couldn't do that. It was like seeing a possum in the light. You know what I mean? It's like they
Right.
were frozen. Didn't know what to do. How are they going to communicate with anybody? You know what I mean? So it's that's it. It's almost like, man, you want to screw up you want to screw up technology. It goes back to the initial thing of the EMP. You want to throw a kid's head off, just just turn off just turn off a cell phone for a day.
Yeah, because most of them don't know how to survive with reading a book,
Yeah,
an
they don't have a
actual
book.
physical book.
Yeah,
See, I'm one of those people that doesn't like Kindles. I
I
like the
don't
feel
either.
of a book in my hand.
Yeah, me too. I like the smell of it. I like being able to immediately look at it, see my bookmark, and know how far into it I am. You can't do
yeah.
that with a Kindle. Kindles mess me up. I've tried reading books on my phone and on Kindles, and I just can't. I can't do it. It's not the same. I need the catharsis of turning a page and stuff.
And it is, you've got a sense of accomplishment with that you don't get with that. Another thing is like,
Exactly. Especially a real thick book. Like, I can't handle a real thick book on a Kindle. I can't see how much I have left, and I'm like, is this forever? Is this
right.
what it's going to be like the rest of my life? It doesn't
Right.
matter how good the book is. I'm just wondering how much longer I have to read it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, whenever you have a really, really long book like that, you might. It's like I heard the statistic the other day that only 20% of people who start War and Peace finish it. You know what I mean?
I can believe
And
that.
and a lot of that, I think you're right. It has to do with the fact that it's like it's an insurmountable task.
Right.
I
And
mean,
also we want instant gratification now. So
yeah, but it's the same thing. It's like you eat you eat an elephant one bite at a time. You mean and you look at the War and Peace the same way. You read it one page at a time, but the problem with it is that I think a lot of times people are so overwhelmed by the process of getting around it that they can't just sort of imagine that being in their wheelhouse. You know what I mean? It's an interesting thing about how people will limit themselves, whereas you could read 2 or 3 books and it would be the same sort of page number as War and Peace.
yeah.
And that wouldn't be a problem. But the fact that the book is so large, that's what drives you nuts. It's like
Yeah.
that's the thing.
Well,
Whereas it would be nothing in that situation.
yeah, like William has a giant tome of all of the Hitchhiker's Guidebooks together.
Yeah.
And just looking at it, even though I love the books, I can't read it from that tome. I need to know that I'm making progress.
Right.
So
Yeah, but
separate all the
those books
books.
are barely 250 pages each. I mean, it's not
It
going to be
doesn't
that big.
matter, but whenever you put them all together,
Right.
it looks like a massive undertaking. Even though, like, I read the first book within a day and a half.
Right.
Like, it didn't take long. But, if you have it on the tome and you start, like, because I started book 2 in the tome and was just like, nah, I can't do it.
Right.
I need to know that I'm having progress, and I can read an entire book and I'm a quarter of the way through. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just
Yeah, she can't. I mean, I understand that.
I have ADHD, and so looking at a task that big, even if I'm interested in doing the task, I don't want to do it now
Right.
because I'm also insanely, like, just, I guess, lazy that way.
Well, I don't think it's that. I think it's like in a lot of ways too. People with ADHD, they spend so much time preparing for it. By the time they
Yeah.
get done preparing for it, then they don't
Yeah.
want to do it anymore. You know what
Yep.
I mean?
Yep.
It's a very interesting way to go. I have the same thing with collections, where I got to collect for some reason. I've just got to, I've got to know everything about what I'm collecting, and then whenever I get to the point where I collect it for a while. Then I got to get a new collection. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's very weird about how, you go from this thing is so important to me to it's not important. Like I can't tell you how many collections over the years I've ruined because I had to get the best example of it, and then whenever I got it, didn't look after it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's
Well,
like a weird thing.
I've had a lot of collections that I've given away later. Just because, like I used to collect swords and sharp objects and stuff, and I gave them all away to my nieces and nephews.
Right. Right.
I just after like a decade or so of keeping them, I just was like, well, these are useless. Where can they go?
Mm-hmm. Well, it is interesting, from that side.
Psychic Toad wishes we'd bring Phil back because apparently we're mired in progressive politics. You missed my rant on how bad for the environment electric cars are, Toad man.
Progressive politics? What does that mean?
He thinks we're liberals.
Oh. Well, I mean, I was having a conversation about that the other day. I mean, the funny thing about it is, at a certain point in time, even though my great granny, was a very conservative lady, when she couldn't vote, that's all she talked about was the fact that she couldn't vote. You know what I mean? And then whenever she got the vote, which was a very sort of liberal idea at the time, then, then you could play to her, sense of what her politics are. I think in a lot of ways, what we do is talk about the fact that lots of people should have rights to talk about stuff and do things. And once you
I
get
don't know
past,
about that, Kevin. You
well,
start
I
giving
mean,
people rights, and where does that lead?
well, no, that's what I'm saying. Well, once you get to actual equal rights, where people have equal rights and they can do what they want to, for example, and nobody's telling them what to do, which is apparently what the libertarian way to go is, right? So that's not a conservative or liberal thing. It's a libertarian thing, right? You should have the right to do what you want to do. Exactly. So you look at it from that. I look at it like we're all a bunch of libertarians. We say people should do whatever they want to do.
I just hate politics and like politicians in general,
Right,
regardless of
because they're full of shite, and
all of them.
they never do what they say.
Exactly.
And to be honest with you, I mean, tell me what changes. What really changes?
Nothing. Like sometimes prices of stuff, but honestly, they're just there, Republican or Democrat, to make their constituents happy. So
Right.
it's really, we don't have a democracy, it's an oligarchy.
Yeah. There's
Because no
swings and
matter how we vote, they're going to make those people happy.
yeah. And
Even Facebook doesn't change that much, depending on what politicians in power. When Trump was in power, my Democrat friends were posting anti-Trump stuff, and now Biden's in power, everyone's posting anti-Biden stuff. I mean,
right.
I just make fun of everybody equally. Like, I legit make fun of Biden. I made fun of Trump. I made fun of Obama.
Right.
I miss Trump. He was funny. I mean,
Yeah, it is interesting that you get into this conversation with everything. It's like, I mean, funny enough, people who would not make the same comments under certain things, now they say that. You know what I mean? It's like people just switch over and go from that. I think it's like, I think we are consistently the same, which annoys people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which basically says is that everybody that you look up to is shite.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
and that's really the way it is. And don't look up to me, don't look up to Richard, don't look up to Nikki, because we're just regular people. But everybody you are looking up to that's going to save you, it doesn't give a shit. You know what I mean?
I don't understand this "Let's Go Brandon" stuff, because even Democrats will say fuck Biden.
Right.
I don't understand that, because Democrats will flat out just say fuck Biden.
Right.
I'm pretty mad because I assumed it was just a cunning ruse to get what's-her-face to be president.
I really thought so too. I thought that
I
Kamala
thought
would be
Biden was
president
going
by
to
now,
die, or
end up being unfit to lead.
Yeah.
I did too. I thought that it was going to show that he had dementia or something, and Kamala was going to take over.
Yeah, but I don't think that I don't think having dementia or exhibiting signs of mental illness has ever precluded anybody.
It really hasn't. It really hasn't.
Look at Richard Nixon. Apparently, he was nuttier than a fruitcake. You know what I mean?
Look at Reagan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so whenever you go through the thing and you say that Nixon was an alcoholic walking around the White House, potentially becoming more and more aggressive whenever he was becoming impeached, and becoming an alcoholic, and sort of off the hook, and everybody worried about him starting a nuclear war, and the fact that, that's just the way it is. Everybody said everybody's crazy for a long, long time. You know what I mean? It's like if in certain situations your butt wasn't puckering under Trump whenever he started with his North Korea shite, you know what I mean? Then then I don't know if you were paying attention. And sometimes whenever you were looking at Biden and the way that he, says, oh, well, you should get rid of Putin, as he said in a speech, they should just get rid of him. If that doesn't make you upset, then that's it. But the problem with a lot of this is nobody looks at it from an equal standpoint. You know what I mean? They're all in for their guy. Their guy is okay, and the other guy is not okay. You know what I mean? And they'll make exceptions for their guy, and they will hold the other guy to the nth degree. I'm tired of it. You know what I think a lot of people are tired of it.
Yeah, I think the majority of people are tired of it, but they're not showing up to vote.
Yeah, exactly. But
I think a lot of people are like, what's the point?
Right.
Because
If
really,
everybody
honestly,
in America refused to vote for just one election, it would change. It would change the entire process.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd have to.
Well, I
But
mean, and
no,
that,
but people
and this,
won't do that.
right. And I really wonder why. That's what I'm saying. You know, I'm for everybody having a vote and everybody voting.
I
Well,
don't think it matters. I still vote, but I don't think it matters. I
Well,
don't
this
think
is
that my vote changes anything.
yeah,
And
yeah.
also, if you're not in a swing state, it really doesn't. Like, what does your vote matter if you're not in a swing state? It doesn't
Well,
matter.
exactly. Who you want for president in Washington State doesn't matter. I've
Yeah.
said that. I've said that to Phil before. I've said, Phil, well, I don't know why you're so. I mean, because Phil lives around the corner from me, and Phil can want whoever he wants to be for president, but it doesn't matter because no matter how I vote and how Phil votes or how anybody votes in my neighborhood, and believe me, we're not all Democrats.
It's going to
This is
turn
going to
blue.
this is going to go blue
Yep.
for whoever,
Yep.
and that's it. And people in Eastern Washington have to deal with that. They're not liberals. I mean, everybody thinks Washington is a totally liberal state. Believe me, we have 2 or 3 counties in the state that are liberal. They're just filled with a ton of people, and everywhere around it is conservative. You know, I know that they're a bunch of farmers. Farmers are not known as liberals. You know what I mean? I live in the middle of farm country, and people think I'm a crazy liberal. You know what I mean? I'm not. You know, I'm not. I'm just into people having rights, and I'm sick and tired of people taking away people's rights.
Never got around to talking about the Death Valley 49ers tonight. Sorry, everyone.
No, you want to talk about them? Is it too late?
It's too late now.
Oh, there we go. All I know is the Death Valley 49ers probably a bunch of liberal bastards.
No, they were very much libertarians.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Republicans, actually. Probably thinking about it.
Like old school
We're not a
Republicans or new
democracy.
Republicans?
We're a democratic republic. Oh,
We're
I
an
hate that, Dean.
oligarchy. We're
I
an
hate that
oligarchy.
expression, Dean, because republic and democracy are two. What's the thing? Republics are a form of government, and democracy is a way of instituting that government.
Well, look at it this way. I've always said to people, okay, we as citizens have one responsibility. That is to vote. To vote for who we vote for. Because we are represented by people. It doesn't really matter what we say. We are represented in government, locally, and on a state level and nationally by other people. And that's all we do. Vote for those people. Then they represent us any way they want to. They don't have to listen to us. They're not bound to listen to us. They can
They
say
should be.
well, yeah, no.
That's the whole point.
Right.
They should be bound to you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but there should
exactly.
be. There's a lot of things they should be. Like there
Right.
should be term limits, and they shouldn't get paid to they served a term, so they get paid the rest of their lives. So they should have to get their own insurance once they get out. They should
Right.
have to find another job instead of getting paid the rest of their life
Right. But what I'm
because
saying
they
is
served.
that
I'm just saying that would change everything. If they
right.
would be like term limits, guess what? We're not going to take care of you the rest of your life. You might
Yeah.
have to go flip burgers at Burger King. I bet
Right.
you the economy would change huge,
Well,
just
that's
a
the
huge
thing.
amount.
Right. We elect people who fundamentally say they're opposed to social programs, who are all on the best social programs in the freaking world. You know
Right.
what I mean? And so that's it. I mean, like there's nothing better than a person who, used to be a congressman for the sweet gravy train you're on. I mean, dude, those people are on the gravy train with biscuit wheels. Even if they're like totally saying, "Oh, well, you don't need to do this and you don't need to do that, or we don't need to pay for this, or we don't need to pay for that." They're getting paid.
Oh
So
yeah.
so what I'm saying is, but even in our thing, that's it. From a democratic standpoint, we can have our say, for example, whether we want to have a school levy or something to do with our city or a state referendum. But other than that, we don't have a right to say anything. And so it's like that's the way it goes. That's the way the government was set up, and that's it. You're being represented by somebody else. You know what I'm saying? And that's how it goes. And that, I mean, for a reason for that is, and if you look at it, on all the weird things that are set up, um, are decided by the Supreme Court or this or that. You know what I'm saying? How hard is it in the 21st century to say one man, one vote, and we will vote on this thing? How hard is it to have a national referendum on gun control? How
Yeah.
hard is it to have a national referendum on abortion? How hard is it to have those different types of things? It's not hard at all.
Well, if Brexit taught me anything, it's bloody easy to have the vote and really hard implementing it.
Right. And so, but what I'm saying is from that standpoint, but I'm saying Brexit was relatively easy. You know what I'm saying? To do. I mean, it would have been nice if they would have explained what Brexit was before they actually voted on it.
But they didn't expect anyone to vote for it. They were so out of touch.
Oh, I don't think that that's true. I think that if they didn't think that people were going to vote for Brexit, I think they weren't paying attention.
Yeah, exactly.
This right-wing movement of pro-Britishness is all over the North and Scotland and in different places like that, and Northern Ireland. You know what I mean? Like I said, but it's funny economically. Whenever they got to that, people in Northern Ireland didn't overwhelmingly want Brexit, and neither did people in Scotland, because they knew that it was basically all run by the sort of north and Midlands of England, who all voted for it. You know, places that used to be great in the industrial powerhouses, and now maybe not so much. You know what I mean? But again, that comes back to are they ever going to start building cars in Coventry again? You know what I mean? Probably not.
I don't know.
Well, I mean,
I don't think they do much in Coventry anymore.
Well, I mean, back in the day, you had Austin and British Leyland, and everybody was making cars. Nobody makes cars in Britain anymore. You know what I mean? And to think that you're going to bring that back.
Was it because your car sucked?
No, dude. I'm saying we had British Leyland was like the Tesla of the 1960s. I mean,
I've never heard that comparison before, and I don't think it stands. But I'm interested to see where you're going to go with it.
Well, no, we had cars that got 38 miles to the gallon in 1960. The British Leyland Mini was the first mass-produced transverse transaxle front wheel car, and could and like I said, could get like 50 miles an hour in third gear. And so, I mean, 50 miles per gallon. Excuse me.
Yeah, you said 50 miles per hour, and I was like, yeah.
Well, and that's old style miles per hour, so that's like 300 miles an hour by today's standard.
Exactly. So all I'm saying is, it's like if you the problem with and now why you could find that, because gas was $10 a gallon. That's why. The problem is that if you're going to have free, like super low gas prices in a country, you're going to have big cars, because that's what you want. Everybody wants a little bit of comfort. You know what I mean? But do people need that? That's all my question is. That's all I'm saying. In America, you kind of do, because you don't have any alternatives.
Yeah, absolutely not. Our infrastructure for transportation sucks.
It's shite.
Yeah, it's absolute.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have to look at a place, they have a section, at least in American real estate, where it tells you the walkability of the area. and most of the time it's crap. You know, you're not going to be able to walk anywhere within
Right.
reason because everything is so far away from each other.
Yeah.
Like
mean,
I think downtown Memphis has it has buses, but other than that, like you're not going to see buses go anywhere except for the most populated areas in Memphis.
right. And then again, you have the thing where I'm afraid. Am I afraid to use? I'm not saying I am. Am I afraid to use mass transit? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You know, do I want to be on the subway in New York past 10 o'clock at night? Fuck
Right.
no. You know what I mean? That's the thing, right? I mean, it's like the elements take over things at a certain. It's like a changeover.
It's true. It's
It's
true.
like, okay, the commuter clocks out at 7 o'clock, and then the madmen clock in at 7:05. All right, time to stay off the.
Yeah, basically, it's trying to stay off of the public transport.
Yeah, and that's like that's the weird part. How come we can't? How come we can't have all this stuff anyway? Then you get into all kinds of stuff, but you know, and I could say we need more police officers and law enforcement. Oh boy, that's a liberal idea right there.
You need to let this go, man.
Oh, I know. I obsess. Everybody knows that.
And anyway, that'll wrap us up for this week. We will return next week, despite the hopes of many. And it's good night from me, and it's good night from them.
Good night.
Good night.